Well, not so much. I mean, yes, in a way, kind of in a roundabout way, because, 4 years that I've spent there, I'd been given 2 promos in 4 years, one of which was overshadowed horribly by the ceiling being lit on fire, after wrestling Eric Young.
Mm-hmm.
It's a catalyst in one of the reasons why I left, but it's not the reason why I left,
You mentioned it not being fun anymore over at TNA. Is that in whole or just over at TNA?
Just over at TNA. To myself, I understood my spot in the card, and I have no problem with putting guys over, and I have no problem, doing that job. But when all the joy gets taken out of doing that, when you're not even allowed to do that to the best of your abilities anymore, it becomes a really depressing place to work.
Mm.
And you can you can sit there and you can say, well, I've got a spot, and I should be happy I've got a spot, and I've heard all kinds of emails and all kinds of things from different people where people are saying, oh, well, you got to do what makes you happy, or other people are saying, what, are you crazy? You had a spot, you're under contract for more time, and blah blah blah, and they're right. In essence, they're right. But until they've lived in that spot for a while, it's hard to say how you would react to being in that spot. So to be there and just fill a spot and come out week after week, to maybe help the Dudleys or maybe not, it just wasn't something that I feel I needed to do anymore. I'd rather somebody young and somebody new have that shot in that spot to maybe get a chance to shine. If I'm just sitting there filling a void or filling a hole, why not have somebody else fill the hole who might, have a better shot at doing other things?
In your article on Slam Wrestling, you mentioned the backstage, working hard and working their butts off, being some of the guys there doing great for the company. Kevin Nash, what are your thoughts on him? The politics that go on in the business. We all know about Kevin Nash and the whole clique and the impact they have on the business. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Kevin Nash is a genius. Let's review. Who here, or who in any way, shape, or form, wouldn't want to be Kevin Nash? The guy who gets paid the most to do the least. And that's by design.
Right.
That's by design. He does these things, he does the things he does completely by design. So, you cannot fault the guy for being able to take advantage of the situations he's put in. He does what he needs to do to get over, and he's over like crazy. He gets paid well to do what he's asked to do, and that's all he has to do. In my mind, there's nothing wrong with what Kevin Nash does.
What about Sting? We know they're paying him this exorbitant amount of money, and we rarely see him on the TNA Impact Zone from week to week. Do you think they're paying him way too much to keep this company afloat?
Well, okay, you're asking two different questions. Okay, on the one hand, do I think they're paying him too much? No.
Yeah.
They're obviously paying him what he's asked for.
Well, with TNA being this new upstart company, that's where I'm going with this. How can they afford to pay a man like Sting, which he is deserving of the money, but how can they afford to pay this man when they're barely getting attendance in the Impact Zone?
Okay, you're making a good point there. Let's review two things here. First, like I said, you asked two separate questions. If you were Sting and they offered you $500,000 a year to do Sting's job, would you take the money?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So, are they paying Sting too much? No, obviously not, because they're paying whatever Sting asks. Okay. Now, is having Sting doing what they want and helping increase buys and helping increase ratings, by paying this exorbitant sum of money to have Sting there, is it really helping all that much?
In my opinion?
In anybody's opinion?
No.
No. Because if you look at the ratings haven't moved. Buys have not gone up substantially, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not done anything for the company. In the last couple of years that they've been on Spike, the ratings have barely moved.
Right.
At least not a substantial amount in any in any scenario when any of these guys have been brought in. You know, maybe it becomes time to rethink the business model. You know,
like going back to the X division and focusing more on them.
Well, I mean, that's one option, but I mean, there's always other options. The point being is that maybe what they're doing for the last 2 years really hasn't worked yet. You know, and if they're waiting to pull the trigger on something or waiting for it to, you know, well, be patient, it'll work, it'll happen. When becomes the cutoff point? You know, when becomes the time when you say, well, okay, it's been 2 years, this stuff really isn't working, what do I do now?
Go ahead,
Trying to find a way, trying to find some options. There's rumors now that they're trying to get Governor Palin to show up at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Good luck.
Everybody's read it on the internet. That's yet another ploy at mainstream advertising. You know, Pac-Man Jones, Sarah Palin,
and none of it paid off really for the company.
Well, I mean, it's added, you know, little bits of interest here, little bits of interest there. They got some good publicity out of some of the Pac-Man stunts and some of the, you know, base brawl stunts, and some of that stuff. Publicity can be, you know, worth money. I mean, sometimes it's an intangible thing, that kind of publicity, where you can't directly say, okay, well, this is really working for us, because any little bit of interest that's piqued, however, you know, small, is good business.
Right, and now we hear the reports that Kristen Cage may be leaving the company and possible a return to WWE. You have any insights on that?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't been around in a month and a half, so I haven't really heard any of the scuttlebutt or any of the rumors or any of that stuff from first-hand sources. So, in all honesty, I can't comment on that.
What's your first take on Russo?
Russo's a hell of a writer when it comes to character development and, you know, the backstage storyline stuff. The in-ring stuff, I don't think so much, but backstage, absolutely, I think it's brilliant.
What are your thoughts on the six-sided ring?
It's a little different. Takes some getting used to. I mean, in reality, once you've been in it a couple times, it's not that much different. The hardest part is for high flyers, I think. Like, it's good for guys who springboard a lot, but anybody who, like, stands on the top rope and stuff like that to do moves, it can become a bit of an injustice. Currently,
what are you working on now? I know you're a part of Scott Diabor's Kenai Wrestling School.
Yeah, I help Damore train guys at his school in Windsor and Detroit. Aside from that, you know, I still do an indie or two here or there. I'm going back to school in January, taking a communications and broadcasting course. And other than that, really, school's my focus right now.
There were some rumors Kenai was telling me about that a possible WWE return.
Well, no. What you've got there's two guys out of Winnipeg who seem to have nothing better to do with their time than to create little rumors and fake email accounts and stuff like this, and are basically trying to drag my name through the mud. You know, I'm not even going to bother giving these guys any publicity.
I seem to get a lot of press, that rumor of you getting a tryout match.
Oh, yeah. Lies will do that.
What's your overall thought about the WWE promotion and Vince McMahon?
Well, obviously they're number one. That's where any guy who wants to, you know, make his name in the business has to go. Have you completely hung up your boots? I know you're doing the indie circuit now, but the passion's still there, right? Oh, absolutely. I still now and always will love the business. It's you know, something that I grew up with, and it's not something that, like, when you have a love for the business, you can't just turn it off. You know, you can't just say, well, I just don't like it anymore. Like, bottom line is, in one way or another, you're always going to care about the business. You know, I'll always care about the business. I'll always care that there are poorly trained kids training other poorly trained kids, you know. I'll always care that, you know, houses are down and things aren't going well. And, you know, I'll always care that there aren't enough jobs out there for guys. You know, that kind of stuff will never leave.
And speaking about that, Johnny, what are your thoughts on the recent American election?
On the election?
Yes.
Well, I'm really hoping for a boost in the economy so that people have the money to go start spending at shows again.
And what's your position on President Obama, President-elect Obama being elected the first African-American in U.S. history?
To be honest, I'm glad a black guy's in the White House, you know, so that people will stop whining about that kind of stuff. But in reality, I couldn't care less, because I'm not a political activist in